I want half of the $100 million.
Half? You abandoned me at age 3. You started a new family.
I am still your father. I am owed.
Owed? You left me. I built this empire alone.
The law says I get my share.
Get out. You are nothing to me.
My father abandoned me at age 3 and started a new family. Now he's demanding half of the $100 million. My father walked into my office after 32 years of silence, sat across from my desk like a man attending a business meeting, and demanded half of my $100 million company. Not asked. Demanded. He came wearing a gray suit that looked expensive enough to impress people who did not know him. His hair was low and silver at the sides. His watch flashed under the lights when he placed both hands on my glass desk. Behind him stood a young woman in a cream dress, holding a designer purse and staring around my office like she was already choosing which wall would look best in her photos. That young woman was my half-sister. Her name was Brianna. I had never met her before that day. Beside her stood a tall young man with crossed arms and an angry face, my half-brother Marcus, also a stranger to me. And behind them stood my father's wife, Denise, the woman he left my mother for when I was 3 years old. All 4 of them walked into Carter Systems Group as if they had an appointment with destiny. They did not. They had an appointment with security, but somehow my assistant had let them in because the old man at the front desk said, "I'm her father." Her father. Those 2 words moved through my company faster than fire. By the time they reached my office, my staff was whispering. My assistant, Grace, looked pale when she opened the door. "Naomi," she said carefully, "there's someone here claiming to be your father." Claiming. That was the correct word. Because fathers do not disappear for 32 years and then return with a claim. They return with shame, if they return at all. My name is Naomi Bennett. My mother's name was Ruth Bennett. My father's name was Leonard Carter. But I stopped using Carter when I was old enough to understand that a name can feel like an unpaid debt. He abandoned me when I was 3. He left my mother in a small apartment with 2 months of unpaid rent, an empty refrigerator, and a little girl who still waited by the window because she thought Daddy was coming back with candy. He did not come back. Not when I turned 5. Not when I turned 10. Not when my mother worked 2 jobs and came home with swollen feet. Not when I graduated high school with honors. Not when I got my first scholarship. Not when my mother got sick. Not when she died. Not when I buried her with borrowed money and a dress she had worn to church for 6 years. Not once. He started a new family instead. A wife, 2 children, a house in the suburbs, family portraits, vacations, Christmas cards, school plays, birthday parties, everything I once begged for from the window. And now, because a business magazine had placed my face on its cover with the headline, Naomi Bennett's $100 million rise. He had found the road back to me. Money is a powerful map. He sat down without being invited. "Naomi," he said, as if he had used my name regularly all these years. I stood behind my desk. "Mr. Carter." His face tightened. "I'm your father." "No," I said. "You are the man who left." Brianna gasped softly, like I had been rude. Marcus scoffed. Denise touched Leonard's shoulder. "Baby, stay calm. Baby." She called him baby in my office, the same man who had left my mother to become smaller and sicker from exhaustion. Leonard leaned back. "I know we have things to discuss." I looked at Grace. "Call Vivian." Leonard frowned. "Who is Vivian?" "My lawyer." Marcus laughed. "Of course. You rich people always call lawyers before family." I looked at him. "And strangers always use family when they want money." His face changed. Brianna stepped forward. "We're not strangers." I studied her. She was beautiful, maybe 26, with soft curls, glossy lips, and eyes full of the kind of confidence that comes from being chosen at home. "Yes," I said. "You are." Her face fell. "Good. Truth should not always be softened for people who benefited from its absence." Leonard cleared his throat. "I didn't come here to fight." "No. You came here to collect. He looked offended. That's not fair. I laughed once. The sound came out colder than I expected. Fair? You left me at 3 years old. You vanished while my mother counted coins for bus fare. You built a whole new family and never looked back. Now you are sitting in my office because Forbes taught you where I live financially. Let's be careful with the word fair. Denise's face hardened. You don't know the full story. I looked at her. I know enough. You got the man. My mother got the bills. Leonard slammed his hand on the desk. Do not disrespect my wife. The room went quiet. There it was. 32 years gone, and his first real show of fatherly protection was for the woman he left with. I smiled. Slowly. That was fast. His anger faltered. What? You defended her in 10 seconds. My mother waited 32 years. Denise looked away. Marcus muttered, This is pointless. But Leonard pressed on. I came because we are family, and this company carries Carter roots whether you admit it or not. I stared at him. Carter roots? Yes, you are my blood. Blood is not a business plan. He leaned forward. You think you built this alone? I felt something in my chest go still. Those words were dangerous. Not because they were true, because they were exactly the kind of words men like him use when they arrive after the harvest and claim they planted rain. He continued, You got your drive from me, your intelligence, your business sense. I may not have been present the way you wanted, but I am still your father. A child does not become successful without the bloodline that made her. For a moment, I saw my mother. Standing in a grocery store uniform at midnight, counting tips at the kitchen table, ironing my school shirt while coughing, telling me I was not abandoned because I still had her. And this man was talking about bloodline. Before I could answer, Vivian Hart entered my office. She was 62, silver-haired, sharp-eyed, and dressed in a navy suit that could make bad men remember childhood mistakes. Naomi, she said. Vivian. She looked at Leonard and his family. No one informed me we were hosting a reunion or a robbery. I almost smiled. Leonard stood. Who are you? Vivian placed her briefcase on my desk. The person who asks that question here is me. Marcus stepped forward. You can't talk to my father like that. Vivian turned to him. I can, and if you keep speaking, I may enjoy myself. Brianna looked offended. Denise looked nervous. Leonard tried to recover his dignity. I have legal rights. Vivian's eyes brightened. Those were her favorite words. To what? To my daughter's company. No, you do not. You haven't even heard the basis. Because imaginary claims do not improve with volume. Leonard pulled a folder from his jacket and placed it on the desk. I have spoken with counsel. Vivian looked at the folder like it smelled bad. Of course you have, Leonard said. Naomi was born Naomi Carter. She changed her name after my family line helped shape who she became. Carter Systems Group benefits from my name and legacy. Vivian slowly turned toward me. Did he just say legacy? Yes. After leaving when you were 3? Yes. She looked back at Leonard. That is ambitious. He ignored her. I am requesting recognition as founding family, a 50% ownership acknowledgement, and compensation for reputational use tied to my surname and biological contribution. For a second, no one spoke. Even Grace, still near the door, looked like she had stopped breathing. Then Vivian laughed. Not loudly, not kindly. A small, clean laugh that made Leonard's face turn red. Biological contribution, she repeated. Leonard's jaw tightened. This is serious. Yes, Vivian said. For you. Embarrassment often feels serious while happening. Denise snapped. We didn't come here to be insulted. I looked at her. No, you came here to insult my mother's grave. Her mouth closed. Leonard pointed at me. I could have come sooner. But you didn't. I was young. So was my mother. I made mistakes. You made a new family. His eyes flashed. And look what you became. Maybe my leaving made you strong. The room changed. Not loudly, Not dramatically, but something in me finally unlocked. All the years of wondering why. All the childhood birthdays. All the school plays where I looked into the crowd knowing he would not appear. All the nights my mother smiled with tired eyes and said, "Baby, we are enough." All of it came to one sharp point. I stepped around my desk and stood directly in front of him. "No," I said, "your leaving did not make me strong. My mother's staying did." He blinked. I continued. "You do not get credit for the muscles I built carrying what you dropped." Brianna whispered, "Dad." Leonard said nothing. Vivian opened her briefcase and removed a document. "Mr. Carter, before you continue humiliating yourself, this is a formal notice. You and your family are to leave Carter Systems Group property immediately. You are not to contact employees, board members, clients, investors, media, or business partners with claims regarding ownership, inheritance, bloodline, legacy, or whatever creative language your lawyer found on the internet." Marcus stepped forward angrily. "You can't kick us out." Security appeared at the open door. 2 men, calm, professional, large enough to make Marcus remember peace. Vivian smiled. "We can." Leonard looked at me. "You would really throw your own father out?" I held his gaze. "You threw your daughter out of your life before she knew how to spell her own name. I am only returning the lesson with better paperwork." His face twisted. For a moment, I thought he would yell. Instead, he said the sentence that told me exactly who he still was. "You owe me." I smiled. "No, I outgrew you." Security escorted them out. Brianna cried. Denise whispered something about karma. Marcus threatened to sue. Leonard looked back once from the doorway, not like a father losing a daughter, but like a man losing access to a vault. When the door closed, the office became silent. Grace began crying quietly. Vivian looked at me. "Naomi?" I stood still for 3 seconds, then 5, then 10. Then my knees weakened, and I sat on the edge of my desk. My father had come back. Not for me, for half of what grief had built. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if someone who abandoned you ever returned only after your life became valuable, stay with me. Because sometimes the person demanding half of your success is the same person who gave you none of their love. I do not remember the day my father left. People always ask that, as if abandonment becomes less painful when memory cannot produce a clear picture. I do not remember his last words. I do not remember whether he hugged me. I do not remember the sound of the door. What I remember are the spaces he left behind. The empty chair at breakfast. The missing toothbrush. The way my mother stopped singing while cooking. The rent notices folded under a magnet on the fridge. The nights she thought I was asleep and cried into a towel so I would not hear. My first clear memory of him is not a memory of him at all. It is me standing at the window in a yellow dress, holding a plastic doll by one leg, asking, "When is Daddy coming?" My mother knelt beside me. Her face was tired, but she smiled. "Daddy is not coming today, baby." "Tomorrow?" She touched my cheek. "I don't know. For years I thought tomorrow was a place where fathers lived." My mother, Ruth Bennett, never spoke badly about Leonard when I was little. Not because he did not deserve it. Because she did not want hatred to become my first language. She worked at a diner during the day and cleaned offices at night. Sometimes she brought me with her when childcare fell through. I slept on a coat in break rooms, under desks, on bus seats, in church pews during midweek meetings. I learned early that tired women move differently. They do not waste steps. They count coins by touch. They save plastic containers. They say, "I'm not hungry," when there is only enough food for the child. My mother did that often. Too often. When I was 7, I found her sitting at the kitchen table with bills spread out around her like a storm. I asked, "Are we poor?" She looked at me for a long moment, then said, "We are in a tight place. Tight places are not forever if you learn how to move." That sentence became one of the foundations of my life. Tight places are not forever if you learn how to move. I learned. I moved through school like I was being chased. Because in a way, I was. Chased by rent. Chased by hunger. Chased by pity. Chased by the fear of becoming a woman who waited by windows for people who had already chosen another road. I got good grades. Scholarships. Part-time jobs. Then more jobs. At 13, I helped my mother clean offices during summer break. At 15, I worked at a grocery store. At 16, I started tutoring younger kids. At 17, I built my first spreadsheet to track every dollar in our house. My mother laughed when she saw it. "You are too young to look that serious. I want us to be ready." "For what?" "For anything." Her eyes softened. "We already survived a lot, Naomi. I want us to stop surviving." That was the first time I understood the difference between living and surviving. My father's new family lived 30 minutes away. I discovered that when I was 12. Not because he told me, not because someone from his side reached out, because I saw him at a shopping mall. He was standing near a toy store, holding a little girl in his arms. She had pink ribbons in her hair and her hands around his neck. A woman beside him laughed while pushing a stroller with a baby boy. My mother saw him too. She froze. I looked from her face to the man. I knew before she said it. "Is that Daddy?" Her eyes filled. She did not lie. Yes, he saw us. I know he did. His eyes met my mother's, then mine. For 1 second, the whole mall disappeared. I waited for him to come, to call my name, to look shocked, sorry, happy, anything. Instead, he turned his body slightly so the little girl faced away from us. Then, he walked into the toy store with his new family. My mother grabbed my hand. "Naomi!" I pulled away. I ran. Not after him. Away. I ran to the restroom and locked myself in a stall and cried so hard a stranger asked if I needed help. My mother stood outside the stall door, whispering, "Baby, open the door!" I said, "He has another daughter." She did not answer. That silence answered enough. Brianna. I did not know her name then, but years later I would learn it. Brianna Carter. The girl with pink ribbons. The girl who got the father I waited for. I hated her for years. Not because she did anything wrong, because children do not understand how to aim pain properly. They just know someone else is being held. At 15, I found Leonard online at the public library. Denise Carter, Brianna Carter, Marcus Carter, family photos, church picnic, Father's Day, matching Christmas pajamas. My chest hurt so badly I had to close the computer. My mother found me outside, sitting on the curb. "You went looking," she said. I nodded. She sat beside me. "I'm sorry. Why didn't he want me?" Her face crumpled. "Oh, baby." "No, tell me." She took my hand. Some people run from responsibility and then build a new life where nobody reminds them of what they ran from. That doesn't answer why. She wiped her eyes. Because the answer is in him, not in you. That helped a little. Not enough, but a little. When my mother got sick, I was 24. Cancer. A word that made every other problem seem suddenly small and still too expensive. I had just started my first operations job at a regional medical supply company. The pay was decent, but not enough for sickness in America. Insurance helped, then did not. Bills multiplied. Appointments consumed hours. My mother tried to keep working longer than she should have because she hated needing help. I sold my car, moved into a smaller apartment with her, worked full-time, consulted at night, slept in hospital chairs, cooked soups she barely touched, held her hand during treatments, begged billing departments, negotiated payment plans, and for the first time since childhood, I considered calling Leonard. Not for me, for her. He owed her something. Money, an apology, a visit, at least a look at the woman whose life he had made heavier. I found his number through an old contact. I called from the hospital hallway. He answered on the 4th ring. "Hello?" His voice was older, still his, I almost could not speak. This is Naomi Bennett. Silence. Then, Naomi? Yes. Another pause. How did you get this number? Not, how are you? Not, I'm sorry. Not, my daughter. How did you get this number? I looked through the glass window at my mother sleeping in the hospital bed. Mom is sick. He exhaled. I'm sorry to hear that. She needs help. What kind of help? Medical bills. He went quiet. Then said, Naomi, I have a family. I closed my eyes. So did she. That's not fair. I laughed softly. That phrase had followed him across decades. Fair, he continued. I can't just disrupt my household. Denise doesn't even know much about everything. Everything. Me. My mother. His past. His abandoned life. I said, she is dying. He said nothing. Did you hear me? Yes. Will you help? He lowered his voice. I can send $500. 500. My mother's latest bill was $14,000. Keep it, I said. Naomi, no. Keep it for your family. I hung up. I never told my mother I called. She died 9 months later. Her last night was quiet. Too quiet. She held my hand and said, do not let what he failed to give you become the measure of what you deserve. I cried. She smiled weakly. Promise me. I promise. Build a life too big for his absence to hold. Those were not her final words, but they were the last ones that became instructions. After she died, something in me became steel. Not cold. Steel. There is a difference. Cold rejects feeling. Steel survives heat and keeps shape. I founded Carter Systems Group at 31, though at first it was just me, a laptop, and a borrowed conference room. I chose Carter for the company name only because at the time, I still thought reclaiming the name would free me from it. Later, I regretted it. Then later still, I changed the legal meaning. Carter no longer stood for Leonard. It became an acronym inside our culture. Clarity, accountability, resilience, trust, execution, results. My staff loved that. I did not tell them the original wound behind it. The company grew slowly. We helped medical suppliers, clinics, warehouses, and small manufacturers fix broken systems. I understood broken systems because I came from one. We reduced waste, improved billing, cut delivery errors, built training programs, saved struggling companies from their own chaos. My first big contract came from a hospital network, then a logistics company, then a healthcare manufacturer, then state-level emergency supply planning. By 36, we were worth $10 million. By 39, $40 million. By 41, after a national partnership, $100 million. Business magazines started calling. Investors started circling. People who had ignored my emails 10 years earlier suddenly remembered they liked my vision. That was when Leonard returned. At first, not in person. He sent an email. Subject line. From your father. I stared at it for 10 minutes before opening. Naomi, I saw the article. I am proud of the woman you became. I know we have distance between us, but life is short. I would like to reconnect. Your father, Leonard. Your father. Like a signature could repair absence. I did not respond. Then he sent another. I hope your silence does not mean anger. We are family. Then Denise sent a message on social media. Hi, Naomi. I know things are complicated, but your father has always carried pain about you. We would love to heal. Always carried pain. Interesting. He carried pain into vacations, family photos, and new children. My mother carried bills. Then Brianna sent a message. Hi, sis. I know this is weird, but I've always wanted to know you. Dad talks about you more now. Can we meet? More now. That phrase told the truth. He did not talk about me when I was hungry. He talked about me after the magazine cover. I ignored all of them. Then 1 week later, they appeared in my office asking for half. After security escorted them out, the situation did not end. People like Leonard do not walk away from imagined money easily. The first legal letter arrived 3 days later. Vivian read it in my office while drinking coffee. Her face remained calm, but her left eyebrow rose twice, which meant the letter had achieved rare stupidity. "What does it say?" I asked. "He claims unjust exclusion from a family-derived enterprise, emotional damages from being denied reconciliation, reputational interest in the Carter name, and potential inheritance rights based on biological connection." I stared. "He wants inheritance from his living daughter?" Vivian looked over her glasses. "Greed is not known for chronological discipline." I almost laughed. Almost. Then my phone buzzed. A news alert. Estranged father of $100 million founder claims he was cut out of daughter's success story. My stomach dropped. Leonard had gone public. The article was disgusting. Not openly. Worse. Soft. Sympathetic. It described him as a father seeking reconciliation after years of painful separation. It said sources close to the family claimed he had been kept away by my mother. It said I had rejected repeated attempts to reconnect. It mentioned that Carter Systems Group carried his surname. His surname. My mother was not alive to defend herself. That was the part that made my hands shake. Vivian took the phone gently. "Naomi. He's lying about her." "Yes. He doesn't get to lie about her." "No, he does not." "What do we do?" Vivian smiled. "Now we open the box." The box. My mother's box. After she died, I kept her documents in a fireproof safe. Letters, bills, court papers, old rent notices, medical bills, photos, my birth certificate, a few letters from Leonard from the early years, before he stopped pretending completely. Vivian had copies of everything because she believed grief should always be scanned if legal trouble might someday need truth. Inside the box was proof. Child support filings my mother started and later abandoned because Leonard changed jobs, moved, and made enforcement costly. Returned letters. A note from him saying, "Ruth, I can't keep doing this. Denise is pregnant, and I need to focus on my real home." Real home. A copy of the hospital billing plan from my mother's illness. My phone records from the call I made asking for help. My mother's handwritten journals. Not all of them would be used publicly. Some pain deserves privacy. But enough could be used. Vivian filed a response denying every claim, demanding retraction of defamatory statements, and notifying Leonard's counsel that any public claims about my mother preventing contact would be met with documented evidence. Then we prepared for court. Yes, he actually sued. Not for 50% directly at first. His lawyer was not completely foolish. They filed for declaratory relief, reputational damages, and a claim that I had used family identity tied to him while denying him acknowledgement. It was legally weak, but emotionally dangerous, because media loves family conflict more than truth. For weeks, headlines circled. Some people supported me. Some said I should forgive him. Some said children owe parents respect no matter what. Some said if I was worth $100 million, giving him something would be easier than fighting. People love spending women's money in the name of peace. The first hearing was packed, reporters outside, cameras near the courthouse steps. Leonard arrived with Denise, Brianna, and Marcus. He looked serious, wounded, like a man starring in his own redemption film. I arrived with Vivian. I wore a black suit and my mother's gold pin. Not diamonds, not power dressing, memory dressing. Inside the courtroom, Leonard's lawyer spoke first. He painted a picture of a father who made youthful mistakes, later tried to reconnect, but was blocked by bitterness. He said I had built a company using the Carter name while publicly presenting myself as self-made. He said Leonard's biological role, family identity, and emotional connection had been erased. Erased. That word nearly made me stand. Vivian placed one hand on my arm. When it was her turn, she stood slowly. "Your Honor," she said, "this case is not about a father erased from success. It is about an absentee parent attempting to convert biological relation into equity after his abandoned child built something valuable." The courtroom went still. Vivian continued. "Mr. Carter did not contribute capital, labor, mentorship, education, housing, medical support, emotional care, or business assistance to Carter Systems Group. He did not raise Ms. Bennett. He did not support her mother during illness. He did not attend school events, graduations, medical crises, or funeral services. His claim is not legal. It is opportunistic." Leonard stared at the table. Vivian opened the first folder. "Further, we have documentation showing Mr. Carter was not prevented from contact. He chose not to maintain it." She presented the returned letters, the child support records, the note about his real home. That one changed the room. The judge read it silently, then looked at Leonard. "Mr. Carter, did you write this?" Leonard shifted. "I was under pressure." The judge repeated, "Did you write this?" "Yes." Vivian then introduced the phone record from the hospital period and my sworn statement about the call. Leonard's lawyer objected to parts. The judge allowed limited testimony. I took the stand. Walking there felt like crossing my childhood in public. Vivian asked simple questions. "How old were you when Mr. Carter left your household?" 3. "Did he provide regular support?" "No." "Did he attend your graduations?" "No." "Did he contribute to your education?" "No." "Did he contribute to your education?" "Insames?" "No." "Did you contact him during your mother's illness?" "Yes." "What did he offer?" I paused. The courtroom blurred slightly. $500. A murmur moved through the room. Vivian asked softly, "Did you accept it?" "No." "Why not?" "Because my mother needed a father for her child, long before she needed $500 from a stranger." The judge's face softened. Leonard looked down. Brianna was crying quietly behind him. Marcus looked uncomfortable for the first time. Denise stared at her hands. Then Leonard's lawyer cross-examined me. He tried to suggest I was angry. I said yes. That surprised him. "You admit you are angry at my client?" "Yes." "So this is personal?" "Abandonment usually is." A few people shifted. He tried again. "Is it possible your mother influenced your view of him?" "My mother refused to poison me against him even when he deserved it." "Yet you changed your name." "Yes." "To distance yourself?" "To honor the parent who stayed." He tried to suggest Carter Systems Group benefited from the Carter surname. I looked at him calmly. "Sir, before the magazine article, most people did not know Leonard Carter existed, including me, in any meaningful way." Vivian smiled faintly. The judge eventually dismissed the central claims. Not months later, that day, there were remaining issues around public statements and possible defamation, but the demand for ownership, recognition, and financial interest collapsed under its own emptiness. The judge said something I will never forget. "Biology may create relationship. It does not create ownership of another person's labor." Leonard closed his eyes. I breathed for what felt like the first time in weeks. Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. Leonard tried to make a statement. Vivian made one first. "Today's ruling confirms that abandonment is not an investment strategy." That line went everywhere. My company staff printed it and taped it inside the break room. I pretended to be annoyed. I was not. But the court victory did not end the emotional mess. Brianna sent me a message 2 days later. I didn't know. I stared at it. Then another came. "Dad always said your mom kept you away. He said he tried. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with this." I did not answer immediately. Brianna was not the villain of my childhood. She was the child in the toy store, the girl held in the arms I wanted. She had benefited from his choice, but she had not made it. A week later, I agreed to meet her. Public place. Small cafe. No Leonard. No Denise. No Marcus. Vivian said, "Do not let curiosity become obligation." I promised. Brianna arrived early. She looked nervous, nothing like the polished woman in my office. No designer purse this time, just jeans, a sweater, and red eyes. She stood when I approached. "Naomi." "Brianna." We sat. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, "I believed him. I know. He told us your mother was bitter, that she moved away, that he sent money when he could, that he tried calling but she blocked him." I stirred my coffee. She did not. "I know that now," she cried. "I am sorry." "For what specifically?" I asked. She looked surprised, then thought carefully. "For coming to your office like I had a right to stand behind him. For believing his story without wondering why a grown man had no proof. For enjoying the father you lost and never asking what it cost you." That last part hurt. Not because she said it wrong, because she said it right. "I hated you when I was 12, I said. She nodded. "I think I would have hated me too. You were a child. So were you." We sat with that. 2 daughters, one chosen, one abandoned. Both holding pieces of a man's cowardice. She said, "I don't want your money." Good. That made her laugh through tears. "I mean it. I believe you. Marcus does, though." "I know. Mom, too, maybe. She keeps saying Dad deserves something after public humiliation." I looked at her. "Your mother married a man who abandoned a child. She should be familiar with delayed consequences." Brianna winced. "I know. We did not become sisters that day. That would be too simple. But we became honest strangers. That was a beginning. Marcus never apologized properly. He sent one message. Dad handled things wrong, but you didn't have to embarrass us publicly." I replied, "He sued publicly. Then blocked him. Denise sent nothing. Leonard sent one letter. Not through lawyers. Handwritten. I almost burned it unopened. Instead, I read it with Vivian sitting nearby. Naomi, I did not understand how much damage I caused. Seeing everything in court was hard. I was young when I left, and I told myself your mother made it impossible because that was easier than admitting I was weak. I am sorry. I know you may never forgive me. I am still your father, Leonard." And I read the last sentence twice. "I am still your father." That was the problem. Even in apology, he reached for a title he had not earned. I wrote back 1 page. Not for him. For me. "Leonard, I accept that you now understand some of the damage. I do not accept your claim to fatherhood in my life. My father was not present. My mother was. You are my biological parent. That is all I am able to offer. Do not contact me again, unless it is through counsel or a verified medical necessity. Naomi Bennett." I cried after sending it. Not because I regretted it, because even boundaries can mourn what they protect you from. Months passed. The media moved on. Companies always become more boring to the public than family scandals. Good. Carter Systems Group continued growing. We expanded into healthcare infrastructure, disaster supply systems, and operational recovery for underserved hospitals. I created the Ruth Bennett Foundation in my mother's name. Not because of Leonard, because of the woman who stayed. The foundation helped single parents facing medical debt, childcare pressure, and career interruption. We funded emergency grants, legal support, job training, and financial planning. At the opening event, I told part of my mother's story. Not all. Some things belonged only to us. I said, "My mother taught me that survival is not the same as weakness. She stayed when staying was hard. She built where someone else abandoned. This foundation exists because no parent should have to choose between medicine, rent, and a child's future." People stood and clapped. I saw Brianna in the back. I had invited her. Only her. She cried quietly. Afterward, she came to me. "Thank you for letting me come. Thank you for coming." She looked at my mother's photo near the stage. She was beautiful. Yes, I wish I knew her. I looked at the photo. She deserved to be known by everyone who benefited from her absence. Brianna nodded. I know. Our relationship grew slowly after that. Very slowly. Lunch every few months. Messages, sometimes. No money. No family pressure. No pretending. She began distancing herself from Leonard's version of events. That caused problems in her family, especially with Marcus and Denise. But Brianna had begun asking questions, and families built on comfortable lies hate questions. One day, she told me, I don't think Dad knows how to love without rewriting the past first. That was painfully accurate. Leonard tried to reach me through Brianna once. She refused. That mattered. It did not make us sisters fully, but it made trust possible. Years after the lawsuit, Leonard got sick. Not dying. Not dramatic. A serious heart condition that required treatment and lifestyle changes. Brianna called me. Not to ask for money. She began with that. I am not asking for money. Okay. I thought you should know. I sat quietly. The child in me reacted first. Fear, then anger, then grief, then nothing clean enough to name. Thank you for telling me, I said. He asked about you. I expected that. He says he wants to see you. I closed my eyes. What do you think? I think he wants comfort. I don't know if he wants accountability. That was honest. I did not visit. Not then. I sent a message through Vivian, authorizing Brianna to share limited family medical information if relevant to my own health records. That was practical, not emotional. A year later, Leonard wrote again. This time, the letter was different. Shorter. Naomi, I am not asking to be called your father. I am asking to say one thing plainly. I abandoned you. Your mother did not keep you from me. I chose the easier life and called it complicated. I wanted your money because I could not face that you became great without me. I am sorry for suing you. I am sorry for lying about Ruth. She was better than me. Leonard. I cried harder over that letter than the first, because this one did not ask me for anything. That made it heavier. I did not know what to do with it. Vivian said, You do not owe him a response. I know, but you want to give one. I don't know what I want. That is allowed. I carried the letter in my bag for 2 weeks. Then I went to my mother's grave. I sat in the grass beside her headstone and read it aloud. The wind moved softly through the trees. I imagined her listening. I imagined her tired hands, her diner uniform, her hospital bed. Her final instruction, build a life too big for his absence to hold. I did, Mama, I whispered. Then I cried until my throat hurt. I did respond to Leonard. One sentence. Thank you for telling the truth. Nothing more. That was all I had. That was all I wanted. My father abandoned me at age 3 and started a new family. Then he came back demanding half of my $100 million company. He lost the case. He lost the story. He lost the right to use my mother's silence against her. But the real victory was not legal. It was not Vivian's line outside the courthouse. It was not the headlines turning against him. It was not watching his imagined claim collapse. The real victory was realizing I did not need his apology to make my life complete. I wanted it. Yes. Some part of every abandoned child wants the person who left to return, fall to their knees and say, "It was never you." But healing cannot depend on people who already proved they know how to disappear. So I built without waiting. I built with my mother's lessons. I built with late nights and tight places. I built with grief under my ribs. I built with the name Bennett on my heart even when Carter was on the documents. I built because my mother stayed. And when Leonard finally returned, I did not hand him half of the harvest because he had once dropped a seed by accident. If you are listening and someone abandoned you, neglected you, rejected you, or chose a new life without you, hear me clearly. Their absence is not your worth. Their return is not your rescue. Their blood does not own your labor. Their regret does not erase your receipts, and their title does not give them access to the life you built while surviving what they refuse to carry. You are allowed to say no. No to money demands. No to fake reconciliation. No to family pressure. No to rewriting the parent who stayed. No to strangers with your eyes calling themselves blood when they only came after the headline. Forgiveness, if it comes, belongs to you. Not to the person asking, not to the family watching, not to the internet, not to tradition. And forgiveness does not have to include access. Today, Carter Systems Group is still growing, but inside our main lobby, there is a wall with a photo of my mother. Not huge, not flashy, just her in her diner uniform, smiling tiredly at the camera, holding me on her hip. Under the photo are her words. Tight places are not forever if you learn how to move. Employees ask about her sometimes. I tell them she was the first systems expert I ever knew. She managed impossible budgets, moved through exhaustion, built safety from almost nothing, kept a child alive in a world that kept sending bills. She was not on magazine covers. She did not sit in boardrooms. She did not know venture capital language, but she taught me everything. Leonard gave me DNA. Ruth gave me life. There is a difference. Brianna and I still meet sometimes. We are not a perfect story. We are two women standing on opposite sides of the same wound, learning how to speak without handing Leonard the center every time. Marcus remains distant. Denise remains silent. Leonard remains somewhere between regret and consequence. And me? I remain Naomi Bennett, daughter of Ruth, founder of Carter Systems Group, owner of every hour I worked, every risk I took, every contract I signed, every dollar I earned, every scar I turned into structure. My father came for half of the 100 million. He left with nothing but the truth. And honestly, that was more than he brought me when I was 3. Final word count, 7,064 words.